What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com, host of the Sports Card Strategy Show. Welcome to Lefty Cards right here on the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network, discussing the latest trends, best practices, and insider tips on sports card investing. This episode is brought to you by NoOffSeason.com, the number one place to make money flipping sports cards. Get a free 30-day trial today at NoOffSeason.com. And now, everybody, it's time for Lefty Cards.
Oh, baby, we're back. We are back. Lefty Cards, episode 6, and I'm dropping it with my man, Paul Hickey. Paul Hickey has just changed his hat because he was just on the screen a second ago in his gray shirt, the Sports Card Strategy Show hat. Yeah, we're back. We're back, Paul. How are
back.
You?
Lefty, good to see you, my man. It's good. I love you, brother. It's so good to be here with you. We're feeding the ducks. Yeah, baby. And then, like that reminded me that like back in the day, I was a DJ. I had the turntable. So it sounds like we got feeding the ducks on each of the ones and twos. And it's like, it's
kind of sick.
We're grooving, baby.
Yeah, we are. We're definitely
the same
grooving.
Gray shirt though. So I only have one gray shirt. So I'm just wearing the same shirt day after day.
Hey, dude, I love it. Keep it simple. Just wash it every now and then. 2 wears this way, 2 wears inside out. You'll be all right.
That's right. I'm a minimalist, man. Just get one shirt and then just try to wear it as much as possible.
I know you're going on runs though, so I know that thing is stanky if you only got one shirt.
I have more running clothes than I do like actual clothes.
I believe that. Every runner that I know has like a whole runner fit.
Yep.
So you got like just mountains of running clothes?
Yeah, because like in the winter, it's ridiculous how many layers you need to go running.
Yeah.
And then the laundry just piles up. Like you're doing laundry every day in the winter. And then in the summer, it just, it's less clothes, but it's so nasty that you have to have so many different shorts and tops and stuff. So,
well, I can see. I mean, it's put my glasses on. So
I was sitting here great with the glasses on.
I was sitting here thinking, I was like, wow, everything is so fuzzy. Is my screen not working? I didn't have my glasses on. We're good. We're here. We're ready to party.
We're back.
Largely informal here with Paul Hickey and Kendall McKee, the Lefty McKee Lefty Card Show.
Lefty, this is your show, man. And like people might not know who I am because it's your show. Although I did introduce myself in the intro, so maybe they do know who I am.
They know that you're the intro guy.
Okay, but there we go.
For those of you that are new, Paul Hickey is not just the intro guy. He is the guy who has introed me into podcasting, though. And I think that's a good place to start. That's a good place to start for those of you that are just catching on to the Lefty Card Show. Maybe you're just catching on to the Lefty McKee at all as a brand or as a personality. Paul Hickey is just a wise sage in my life. Not a sage in the terms of like he's an old fart. But he is a wise sage in helping me get to where I am today. So I reached out to some forums in 2000. Oh shoot, maybe somewhere around COVID, somewhere. Yeah. And let me back up even further. I had a Twitch show called Lefty McKee. That's it. Then I was like, I'm just gonna get on Twitch because I saw Twitch as an opportunity to potentially talk about fantasy sports, and there was nobody on Twitch that was talking about fantasy sports, and I knew there was millions of fantasy sports users, and there was a platform on streaming, and there was nobody talking sports. So I started, and they had just started an IRL channel on Twitch, and so I said, I want to be the first person on there talking about sports, fantasy sports specifically. Maybe that will become something for me. Was working full time at the moment, and I was just like, let's dive into this. dove into it. In the last 5 to 10 minutes of the live stream at the time, I would talk about my favorite sports cards that I owned. At the time, my buddy Sean and I were just talking about sports cards. He was getting into them. I had already had them, but I not touched them in years. And so my buddy Sean and I were talking about sports cards, and I got backed into it in about late 2019, early 2020. So right around the time COVID was about to take off. So I was already getting into this. I had known who Gary Vaynerchuk is. And so I had heard him talking about how it was a new investing landscape. I knew all this stuff. I was well aware, and I was in an entrepreneurial field where I could tell that this was an asset that was underappreciated. Let's just put it that way. And so I didn't know exactly where it would go, but that's where I was at. 2020, started talking about sports cards on this show. And so I was like, you know what? Just like every other hobby that I do, I have a particular affinity for loving hobbies. And when I get into a hobby like running per se, when you get all the running kit and you think like all this stuff, I'm not into running, but I know when you get into a hobby, you get into it and you start researching all about it. I just recently bought a 1993 BMW 325i 4-door V6 or a straight six. I love this freaking awesome old car. I mean, it's an old car for now's perspective, even though it's not as old as I am, but it's awesome. And so I'm getting all in the forums and I'm on Reddit and I'm like trying to figure out all the mods I can do and da-da-da. Same exact thing when I got into sports cards. So I got into a Facebook group about sports cards and I saw somebody talking about something. I dropped the line in there saying, does anyone have any resources where I can consume some content and learn more about this? I.e., some guy, not Paul, drops, I got an ebook for $5 and da-da-da, here you go. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, that's all good. Paul Hickey somehow finds this post in all of the metasphere and goes, here's a free ebook that I wrote. No big deal. Just send it to me. I consumed it in about a day. I reached back out to Paul through an email and I said, loved your book. It was good. I think that this is what I needed. I think I need some more of this. What is all good about this? He said, I don't have another ebook. Schedule an hour with me on Zoom, and we'll just chat. Lived in Valencia at the time. You were across the world. We just chatted and immediately hit it off. We talked about fantasy sports. We talked about sports cards. We talked about the Pistons. We talked about what you're doing in Spain and how I had been there. And long story short, we just got along fast. And then we're like, dude, let's do another Zoom call. We did another Zoom call. Then we're like, dude, we should record some stuff. And then at the time you were recording a podcast with a buddy. And then you were like, hey man, we don't have a baseball guy. You seem to know a lot about baseball. At the time, Paul thought that I only knew baseball. And so then he was which respectfully, that's all I told you. And then he pulls me on the show to talk about baseball. As the other analysts are talking, I start integrating into the other sports. And Paul's like, wow, you know a lot about sports in general. Long story short, Paul's like, you know what? Let's just do a show together. We started doing a show together. That became the Sports Card Strategy Show. And here we are. Long story short, now nooffseason.com Sports Card Network is dope. We're both in this together. We got Lefty cards. We got a ton of shows on the nooffseason.com network, or the Sports Card Network on nooffseason.com. However you want to say that, Paul. I know that I always get the branding wrong, but it's been a fun ride. It's been a ride that I've very much appreciated. It's been I need to give you the 2 claps here and say, like, you've done a big job of upping my development as a content creator, upping my development as a professional human, and upping my development in sports cards, primarily. And I've loved our friendship. I'm glad you're on the show. I'm sorry we had to wait till episode 6 to get you on. I feel like you should have been at number 1, but is there anything that you'd like to add there?
Well, I mean, you had to have Chase Krim on twice before you could have me on, you know? So it's all good. It's all good.
There you go.
I see you, Krim. You're the man. You do a great job on Lefty Cards. But no, man, thank you. That means a lot, brother. I mean, yeah, you nailed it. Like from my perspective, it's been a amazing experience. Like it's funny that I wrote that book. You said you read it in a day. I actually wrote it in a day,
I
believe it
appreciate
or
that.
not. And yeah, and it was kind of funny because like I had learned so much leading up to that book, and it was like bursting out of me all the stuff that I wanted to tell people. And my wife was like, "You should write a book. Just self-publish it on Amazon." And I'm like, "Okay." Um, so I just like sat down one day and knocked it all out, and I'm like, "Screw it, I'll publish it." And then yeah, I was giving it away for free. So it's funny that we came across each other in a Facebook group. And yeah, it's like I think we bonded over the fact that yes, we respect the hobby. Yes, we respect that there's collectors. Yes, we are cognizant of, how people feel about certain issues in the hobby. But you and I are also both, like you mentioned, entrepreneurs and businessmen, and like we also enjoy fantasy sports. And to
Yeah.
me, the sports card hobby, what I'm most passionate about in it is that intersection of like being a fantasy general manager, having the investable assets, loving the transaction. I've said many, many times on the Sports Card Strategy Show that I love making money. I want to help people make money. And really where that comes from is I just don't want people to make the dumb decisions that I made, you know?
Yeah.
And you've said this a lot in the content that we've created together. Like we're always learning. And that's what I love about you, man. Like one of the things, there's so many things I love about you. One of them is that you're like always learning and never thinking that you know everything. And I try to be that way too, right? Because I think if you get stuck in your ways and you don't evolve, then you're not going to be successful at what you're trying to do. It's all a process. It's all an evolution. Just like how kind of you articulated how our relationship has gone and how our shows have gone, our content. But I mean, through you and with you, we've just met so many great people. And
Yeah.
I just feel thankful to be where we're at. And I'm excited we're going to be in Dallas together in about 10 days with Chase Krim,
Come on.
and Cody Krim, and hopefully a lot of other great people that I've never
Yeah.
met before that I'm about to go meet. So yeah, man, I think, we're just getting started, even though we have, quite a bit of history together, and we've been through some, mainly it's been positive. I think other than maybe too many Gio Reyna purchases, and other than that, I think it's been pretty smooth sailing.
I'm still in the Geo Arena. I still have those cards, but yeah, we've definitely made some learning purchases along the way, some learning expenses, or what I like to call them. Luckily for both of us, we've made a lot less learning expenses and more cash flow. You and I both have been able to create stuff, and a lot of people here on this show have been able to create enough of a nest egg here for it to be significant for our personal lives, like not only for us, but I mean, just from my experience knowing you, it's changed our families. Sports cards have changed our families' lives over the last 4 or 5 years, and that's not something I was expecting. I didn't know that sports cards would ever re-enter into my life and consume as much time as they have, like I'm 5 and 10 years old again. Like I would, had you told me at 10 years old, you're actually going to spend more time on sports cards when you're 30 than when you're 10, I would have thought I was a complete loser, or I would have thought I was the winner of all winners, depending on how that would have been framed to me as I was 10 years old. But so, Paul, I just want to acknowledge we have gone through some awesome learning opportunities together. And it's awesome that we're here 4 years later and we're kind of reflecting. And today is just us hanging out, being boys, and talking about some of the things we've learned over the last couple of years and some of the things that we are growing into, not only as a network, but as professionals, and also as a duo here that we're going to grow into as partners together. So let's go ahead and go to our first commercial, which you're going to recognize the guy that's on the commercial.
I like this guy.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. But let's go ahead and hear from him.
What's up, everyone? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. Why should you subscribe to NoOffSeason.com's premium membership? Do you like the content on this show? Want more? Well, a free 30-day trial membership at NoOffSeason.com gives you a Friday edition of the Sports Card Strategy Show called The Overflow Show. It's a premium podcast for members only every Friday, and you can ask an unlimited amount of questions to build your sports card investment portfolio, and I answer them for you. I put in the work, research, and do the analysis, give you the best possible answer so you can increase your chances of making money flipping sports cards. And if that's not enough reason to sign up for a free 30-day trial today, you get Sports Card School, tons of premium members-only articles, and our new formula-based sports card rankings to help you find the cards with the best ROI to make money in the hobby. Sign up today at NoOffSeason.com.
Man, what a guy. That dude is so catalytic, Paul. Remember that word?
Catalytic Kendall McKee.
In terms of ROI, return on investment, I think there are some times where I have bet on myself, and then there are times where people have just unnaturally things have just unnaturally worked out. When I was about 25, 26 is when we started talking. At the time, nobody was giving me any respect. Everybody that I was trying to learn from was either wanting me to pay them a ton of money or work for them for free, or, it's that weird time of the professional life where you're like, I could do it myself, or I could learn from others and intern for free, or I could try to get a day job, but I just graduated. There's I'm in grad school. There was just all this churning. And you gave me the time of day, man. And I respect that in you, and I try to replicate that as much as I can about giving people almost like more trust and respect than they deserve, because I want them to blow me away in the time that we do give. And there's a lot of personal philosophy wrapped up in that, but I just want to say thank you again for taking that video call from a kid in his 20s that just wanted to talk about sports cards. So I hope that I continue to replicate the kindness that you gave to me that day. But
thanks, man. It's mutual, man. I learned a lot from you, and we become really good friends. So I'm glad that the same way that you feel about me taking the call. I was honored that you reached out. I thought, what a great I'll share something real quick. When I first started back in the hobby, I think everyone has that beginning to their sentence these days, but I was trying to learn too, and this is late 2020, and I'm trying to learn because I realized, okay, this isn't just the David Robinson 1989 hoops rookie anymore. This is a ridiculous amount of sets and parallels and values and grading companies and everything. And so, and breaking and all that. I know breaking's actually been around for a while, but I don't think breaking was around in the late 80s, early 90s when I was collecting. So at least the internet wasn't around.
Yeah, not in the same way.
Exactly. So anyway, point is I'm trying to learn too, right? And so I'm like, okay, let's try Facebook groups. Let's try Instagram. Let's try Reddit. Wish I never would have tried Reddit, because every freaking Reddit thread had just people waiting to lambaste you for anything that you wanted to put on there. And I remember honestly, you mentioned I live in Valencia back then. And so I was I'd be with the family. I'd be trying to learn about sports cards, trying to interact with people online before I met you. And then I'd get some guy would hand me my ASS on a Reddit forum just for asking a simple question. and I'd be like in a bad mood the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are people like that? And so I guess my point is I had kind of a negative entry back into the hobby at first. And then when I met you, like you were one of the people that kind of like showed me that there's positivity in the hobby. And then like after, so when you reached out, I was like, oh, there are good people that are doing this. Great. Let me talk to another good person that's doing, like, I knew I was a good person, even though I don't, like you don't really know someone until you know someone, but I knew myself. Right. And then when I got to know you, I'm like, okay, this is positive. So I actually owe you the same like reciprocal thank you, because like you reaching out to me meant a lot and was kind of like somebody saying, hey, let's talk, let's be hobby friends. And then since then, like you mentioned, I mean, we've just met so many other hobby friends through creating content together. So feeling is mutual, brother.
I appreciate it, man. And so we are going to be at the Dallas show May 16th. And you're going to be there, I believe, through the 20th, correct? And I fly out the 19th, coming back home, but we're going to have a great time together. That's actually more or less my hometown. Fort Worth is my hometown, so I don't like to say that Dallas is my hometown, but that's a personal thing. That's like, you don't know that actually from there, really. It's like, don't let my Fort Worth become your Dallas type thing. But are you looking to sell any cards? Are you looking to like just do the podcasting? Are you looking to, like walk around the show? Like, kind of, what are your thoughts on it? Like, I know you're always looking to connect relationally with people, and I think that's a skill. That is a skill, and so I know the answer to that question, but I'm just curious, like, what are you looking forward to other than networking from Dallas show?
Yeah, man. I'm looking to do it all. I am going to bring some cards and get them out and see if I can move them. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't, though. We'll elaborate on that in a second for the audience, because there's a whole sports card strategy, obviously, behind all that. But
nice.
I'm definitely going to be looking to buy. Definitely looking to buy. I've actually got like, this formula we're going to talk about here in a minute. You and I are always kind of looking to buy, to not miss opportunities online most of the time. Right. And so I think you'd be foolish to go to a card show and not have an open mind about acquiring things. And what I've learned from my last several card shows when I look to buy is, if I go in targeting something, then I personally miss what's there. Whereas online buying, I'm targeting something most of the time. I'm saying, like, I want to go buy Samuel Basallo 2023 Bowman Chrome First Prospect Auto Refractor Raw, right? Like that's what I'm searching for. But if I go into a card show looking for that, I'm going to miss like maybe a Breece Hall auto, or maybe, just a ton of other stuff that might be a good pickup. So definitely going to be looking to buy. Got a little bankroll. I owe Cody and Chase some money. So I'll be paying them. That's on the agenda for that.
That's important.
And
as Krim says that Dallas is better than Fort Worth.
Exactly. Enter Krim. And yes, you're right about networking. I mean, growing the sports card strategy show and nooffseason.com, and of course Lefty Cards brand is important to me, all the brands. So we'll be doing that. We'll have a setup with Texas Roadshow. Shout out Texas Roadshow. And yeah, man, it's going to be all of it. But again, I think like I don't go in with any expectations. Like I don't go in like if I have like $1,000 to spend at a card show, which I mean, I think Chase and Cody spend $1,000 like every minute at a card show. But like if I go in to a card show with $1,000, because I don't have that much money, I'm not mad at myself if I don't spend that $1,000, right, Same. Lefty? I mean, you're with me on that.
Same.
Yeah. It's got to be the right stuff. You know what I mean? I'm fine walking away going, I got this out of the dollar box, and that's all I could find.
Yeah.
You know?
I totally understand what you mean. I made there was in one day at the National last year, I think I cleared like $1,800 cash sales of my own cards, and I was holding $1,800 in cash. And I was like, I want to find a Jackson Holiday auto. We couldn't find one anywhere. And I was like, I'm 1000% fine with taking this money and going home with it. Like, I'm not the kind of guy who the money is just burning a hole in my pocket. And I'm just going to be like, oh, what are you doing? Here's $1,000, and there are people like that, and so I'm 100% fine with taking my bankroll home. I have one of the best card shops in the nation. Shout out Jimmy from Kentucky Roadshow, right down the street. And it's a cool spot, but I know everything in there is more expensive than I can buy on eBay. So, like, honestly, I don't go in there very much. I don't go in there as much as I should because I'm such a penny pincher. I'm out here trying to snipe things on PWCC where no one's paying attention, or ComC, or what, all this stuff that we've learned over the last forever. And so, yeah, like, I love trying to make money, but I love not wasting my money because my time is valuable, and I'm spending all this time like trying to hustle hard because my day job that I love doesn't pay very well. So like I do it because I love it, but then I do it because I need it, I need to make that extra coin. So speaking of making extra coin, great transition into what you have branded as the formula. So, giving a very brief overrun on the Sports Card Strategy Show and what you've done at nooffseason.com, you have created what's called, or what you've branded, the formula. From what I understand, it is a way to strategically pick out not only the right athletes, but the right cards in when and where and why you should buy. There are numbers behind sometimes a largely emotional experience. And that is the best way to create wins. You've already dropped subtly 2 names that you are buying that I'm sure came out of the formula. And little win if people in the comments can drop the 2 names that Paul has already dropped that you if you know him well, he's dropped them strategically. If you don't know him well, you're just like, oh, I totally missed that. If you missed it, rewind about 5 minutes. It's still in there. And this isn't not that this is an evergreen episode forever, but those 2 names will be relevant for a while. So Paul, consider me an absolute ignorant person in terms of who you are and what you're doing and making money in sports cards. Screen share or whatever you have to do, become the host of this show. Teach me like we did back in the day. Act like I'm a learner, which I mean I am, and you have to sell me on the formula.
All right, sounds good, man. So basically what I've learned over the last 4 years now is that it all boils down to kind of 2 main ways to make money flipping sports cards. You're either buying a card raw and grading it because there's upside in the premium of the PSA 10, or you're buying an already graded card most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, a PSA 10. And then you have to, in order to profit from that, you have to buy at a particular price that leads you to believe that it's going to be on the historically low side. And you have to have a selling marker in mind, meaning something coming up in the world, whether it's a schedule or whether it's an event on a schedule or whether it's a performance that you think is going to happen. We call that examples of selling markers. So we say, only buy with a selling marker in mind. And also, as Lefty and I have created content together for about the last 4 years, and we've worked with a lot of other great people, we've basically boiled it down to there's only certain cards for certain players that are ever going to have any kind of upside monetarily. And so we call that the right card for the right player at the right time. Right. So the right card, we're going to help you get there. And at nooffseason.com, there's a ton of different tools to help you get to the right card. The right player in the right time. The right player kind of means, it can mean the actual player. It can mean the situation of the player. It can mean the team that the player was drafted to. All those different factors go into the right player. The right time implies both the right time to buy and that you know when the right time to sell is. And and we'll get to the formula here in a second. One of the things that Lefty and I honed in on is that you sell at the selling marker, because if you don't, you're risking a big time drop off in prices and or lack of interest in even be able to move that card past the selling marker. And we've honed in on the selling marker. Sometimes we can break down selling marker for like an hour. So I'm not going to do that. But what I've done with the formula is basically just say, okay, we had a good start with all of what I just said. Right card for the right player at the right time. Only buy with a selling marker in mind. But we're missing a layer because there's still like millions and millions of cards to choose from. And so as I'm now doing this as my full-time job, I need a priority list. Like I need to know what's my priority list, because I can't just go haphazardly say, well, I think this is going to happen. I think this is a good price. I think that's a good price. This is a good gem rate, blah, blah, blah. So I sat down and I kind of had this formula in my mind for like a couple of years. I just never actually built it out into a mathematical G sheet. I like to use G sheets. So I sat down, I put it all into a G sheet first, and I said, okay, let's start with raw to grade. Okay, raw to grade. The reason I like raw to grade, and for those of you who are new to this, raw means the card hasn't been graded. Maybe it was just pulled out of a pack, either by a breaker or by someone and then listed on eBay, but it hasn't been graded yet. And Kendall is holding up a card in the top loader, and that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. So you got a card in a penny sleeve and a top loader, and you're saying, okay, this card, you'll like this one, Kendall. This is number 1 on the formula right now at nooffseason.com. So I'm going to use this to break down the formula. And it's an interesting one. So Tiger Woods, 2001. This is your card. Tiger Woods, 2001 Upper Deck. And this card is $19 raw right now. And it costs $21 to grade. That's $40. Now we know there's something called a gem rate. So the gem rate is, out of all the cards graded, we're going to use PSA. Even though CGC is a sponsor, we grade with PSA because we try to make money, and CGC is a great company. You'll hear an intelligent man tell you why probably later on in the show, but it has a 34% gem rate, and there's like there's like hundreds of thousands of these cards that have been graded because it's from 2001. So you have a 34% chance of getting a PSA 10. Well, that means you have a 66% chance of getting all the other grades, which is not great. So the formula takes into account how much does the card cost to buy raw, how much does the card sell for in all of the grades. In the mathematical formula, it gives you an average sale price, and then it gives you a projected profit. Now, the reason why, so all of that we've done before, like all of that we've all done. We've written articles at nooffseason.com. None of that's new. Where it became really important and a huge differentiator for me was because I needed to prioritize what I'm buying. AKA, I need to find the cards quickest with the highest projected ROI, and then I need to sort it by the highest projected ROI, and then I need to look at the sports card formula-based rankings at nooffseason.com, which I'll get to in a second. Sorted by projected ROI, that is my priority list. So and I need to look at, okay, since I'm flipping sports cards full time, I need to try to make money. So I need to plan this out. I need to say, if I'm trying to cash out cards next month, June, or let's just say July, because it's May 6th, say July, because it might take a little longer to get back from PSA. If I want to make $1,000 on this card, on this one Tiger Woods card, how many would I need? What would my total buy-in be, including all the grading costs and everything? And then off of that, then you have the projected ROI. So when you add in, you have the projected profit, You have the total profit goal. The total profit goal tells you how many you need. How many you need gives you your total buy-in. And then the math at the end of the day, really the number one thing that matters is the projected ROI, because that's your priority. So if you can get the Tiger Woods 2001 Upper Deck base number 1 card in gradable condition for around $19 and you buy 16 of them, you have a very, very good chance at making $1,000. And that is, you only need $636, including your entire grading fees and everything, to make that play, which means you have an ROI of 157%, which is ridiculously good. And I think it's those last few lines, right? It's how much money do I want to make? And if I want to make this amount of money on this card, how many cards do I need to buy? Knowing how many cards I need to buy and grade is my total buy-in. So I need that amount of cash flow. I think that's where we haven't really gone yet until the formula. So now the formula gives you the projected ROI and sorts it for you so all you have to do to get all of this is get a free 30-day trial at nooffseason.com. If you're not already a premium member, go to the formula-based sports card rankings and you'll see the raw to grade tab. And there's the already graded tab. So real quick, Kendall, and because I know if astute members of the audience of the nooffseason.com fam will have questions about this, right? They'll say, oh, well, Paul, the Tiger Woods, that card's from 2001. What if the $19 entry point for that is like crappy condition? Okay, I understand that. And we've built those modifications into the formula to account for how old the card is. We've built in all your fees, your grading, your shipping. We've built in on the profit end. We've built in the eBay fees, that gouge everybody, right? That, like, I get that. So it's very, very conservative. And one more example, Kendall, before I go to the already graded. So like I mentioned Samuel Basalo's 2023 Bowman Chrome First Prospect Auto Refractor. So this is another good example. So this is a card that came out over the last year, super new. Opposite of Tiger Woods card. It's a little bit more expensive. It's also probably in much better condition than all the Tiger Woods cards floating around out there. That right now is returning at a 112% ROI. That's the third best card per the raw to grade formula based rankings right now. If you want to make $1,000 on that card, you only need 6 of them. Now that's not easy to find.
Yeah.
It's probably easier to find 16 Tiger Woods cards that are gradable than it is the Samuel Basalo, 6 of those.
Because there are 6 of out of 499.
Out of 499, exactly.
There's 13 or 16,000 PSA 10 2001 Tiger Woods cards. There's 499 Basalo autos.
Exactly. So like to find 6 of them is going to be hard, let alone 6 that are gradable. But if you can find any of them for around $130 and you think it could gem, you should do that because it's returning at 112% ROI. If you did really want to make $1,000 on that Basalo card just by itself and you could find 6 to grade, it kind of wouldn't matter the condition based on the formula. The total buy-in would be $895.11 and you'd make $1,000 based on the gem rate. And so the thing I love about the formula too, Kendall, is like you'll remember the 1K budget builder. Like the 1K budget builder now is an article at nooffseason.com weekly where we mix and match, because the reality is like you're not going to go out and get 61 Travis Hunter 2023 Bowman Chrome U Sapphire First Prospect base cards. I mean, maybe you are, but 61 gradable, that's going to take you a while. It'll return a 61% ROI. It'll only cost $1,600. You'll make $1,000. So you mix and match, right? That's my point with the raw to grade. Now, on the already graded though, like that is different. That's different. It's the same formula, but now what you need to do to get to with the raw to grade, it's all actual numbers right now. It's all just based on the actual numbers. So there's no, you don't need a selling market.
As soon as you get it back.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you get it back, put it on eBay. That's exactly right.
Just to preface, you've historically been the 7-day auction guy. Are you saying putting it on there at auction, or are you saying putting it on there as the buy it now of the price that you have on the sheet? Okay,
that's a great question. I would say like check the market when you get it back to understand, am I actually up on this card quite a bit based on where I thought I would be based on the formula? Chances are you will be, and I think you could just go ahead and auction it. But I also think what I've learned, Kendall, is like, it's hard to tell people what to do because it's all dependent on everyone's individual situation. And of course, that's why we have the Overflow show, the premium pod, where it's like we allow our members to ask their exact question and give us their exact situation. I would say I've learned most people are more comfortable in a buy it now or best offer just to test the waters of listing a card for sale. And a lot of people are scared of auctions. I like selling in auctions, especially if I know I'm up on a raw to grade play. If I'm up and if the audience is up, I encourage them, just go ahead and auction it, because you're going to get the fair market value for that card as long as you list it appropriately on eBay, and you're going to be up and you're going to move the card. I think so. There's risk either way. The risk in an auction is that you don't get what you wanted for it, but the risk in the buy it now or best offer is that you don't even move the card and it just sits there.
All. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a good question. On the already graded rankings for the formula, you need a selling marker. And so what we do, because again, you're not doing anything to the card. Like on the raw to grade, you're doing something to the card to increase its value.
Yeah.
On the already graded, you're not. So if you're going to go buy a PSA 10, which most of the already graded cards are PSA 10s in our rankings, you need a selling marker, and we need to understand why we think, based on historical data, that at that selling marker, there is a projected average sale price. So the projected average sale price on the raw to grade is easy. It's just the math. The projected average sale price on the already graded is a little bit harder because the team at nooffseason.com, mostly myself, but a couple other people help me with the research. We go back and we look at what other historical selling markers that are related to this card, whether it's the exact card, whether it's a player that mirrors that player in a way, and their exact card. What can we gain from historical data that leads us to believe, along with a selling marker coming up, that is a safe, conservative, projected average sale price? And so what you find on the already graded tab is really something completely different. You have a target cost that becomes way more important than the raw to grade target cost, because if you go say $150 on the Basalo and the target cost was $128, but that thing's going to gem. You just know it because you have it in your hand and you're like, it's a Jordan Poole 2019 Contenders Optic Rookie Ticket Auto.
Come on.
You know the reference, Chase Krim. And
that
Chase
Krim literally was like, not going to gem.
Krim's like, not going to gem. And Hickey's like, I think it could gem. Then you're okay. But if you're buying it, if you're buying it already graded, you're actually not okay. You have to get it for that low price and that target cost. So the target cost on that tab is real market data. It's based on a mix of the last comps. So you're going to be able to get it for that price. It just might not be listed. There might not be any available. And so it's super conservative. Both rankings, raw to grade and already graded, are both super conservative. But the already graded is, I would say, a little bit riskier because you need things in real life to happen. You need, like Sam Howell's 2022 Prism Silver 306 PSA 10. That's the third ranked card on the already graded. And the reason why it's the third ranked card is because some great research that the team at nooffseason.com did to find if you can find that card for $70, it's got a conservative projected average sale price coming up during the NFL season of $198. You only need 5 of those at $395 total to make $500, which is phenomenal. But the problem is that you need Geno Smith to go down, right? Or you need Sam Howell to beat out Geno Smith. If those things happen, then that card is worth at least $198, if not more. The projected ROI could go up quite a bit. So you'll find some of those things on the already graded tab. You'll also find it very hard to actually find the cards at their target cost on either of these tabs, but I say it should be hard, right? Like, it's essentially what we've always done, Lefty. Like, you and I have always done this. We've always done this. Like, okay, we need to find this card for this player at this price in this condition and graded at PSA, or we need to find this card for this. We need to find De'Aaron Fox's 2017 Optic Shock PSA 10, and we need to find it for $30. We know it's going to sell for 75, and we're going to make 100% on that. You and I have always done that. The only thing, though, that we're doing now is we're just running as many flipping cards through this formula as we possibly can, because the more that we can run through the formula, the more we can get the best opportunities to focus our attention on. So we talk about narrowing the focus. This helps us. This helps really the subscribers of nooffseason.com and the listeners to the shows on our network prioritize, because we can't go out and just buy haphazardly. We have to have a narrow focus. So to me, I built the formula for myself, and then I was like, oh, this is really freaking good. I'm going to just launch this at nooffseason.com and talk about it all the time on the show.
This is premium content is next level. Not only is the premium content good from an advice standpoint, like all of what we had done previously to this is helping people with guardrails, being like, we've been telling them per se, like, you need to develop a strategy that works for you. You know, every context is a little bit different. We had done a little bit of like some flirting with consulting and stuff like that, but then it's just like, to some degree, it is like there is a level of like the grit factor to it, of like, you got to hustle hard to make some money. This is like hard data of like, look, Kendall can recommend a 2014 Messi that's going to go up in June, but let's see if there's data behind that. You know, like, let's see if, like, okay, for instance, I think this is funny, and I'm just going to pull one from way far down the list. If you buy 166 Garner Minshew PSA 10s, they'll sell for $1 more in September, and you can make $500. Like, the fact that that's on there makes me laugh, you know, because I don't think that there will be a $1 return on a Gardner Minshew card if you're buying it today versus September, because he'll probably start for the Oakland Raiders. But that is super conservative on Minshew Mania. But I like what you've done here, and this, fam, if you're out there and you are not in the premium content at nooffseason.com, like, I don't know what else you would need other than what Paul just talked about to see that this is a worthwhile investment. Like, not only is it just advice, it is good advice, and you are getting good content, and you are getting the overflow show, but then you're getting like a tool that you can essentially use. You don't even have to listen to the other stuff, and you're going to be making money more than you would be spending on the year-long membership. If this takes, you know, if you invest, okay, let's go back a little bit. I'm not going to necessarily, can I pull number 2? Are you cool with number 2 being an example that I use?
Yeah, for sure.
On the
grade. Yeah, whatever you want to, it's out there,
grade. Number 2, Bronny James, 2023 Topps Chrome McDonald's All-American 20 refractor. I happen to own 2 of them already, so here I am holding them. So I'm not just recommending silly cards with no buy-in here. If you buy 29 of those at $8, you have them graded over the next couple of weeks, and it comes out Bronny does get drafted to some other team, and then he's in the NBA. You have an investment of $835. You profit $1,000 conservatively in that. That is already paying itself essentially in 3 months' time, or 2.5 months' time. You've already paid for your premium membership, essentially.
That's right, man. That's exactly
counting
right.
The free 30 days you got with, like, the free 30 days you got. Like, guys, Paul has made a resource here that's going to make you way more money than it costs. Now, I understand, guys, a big hurdle here, is the $299. Or it's $299, right?
$225. Yep.
Even better than I thought. $225 a year.
It's $20 a month. It's better than Netflix. Netflix costs $33 a month.
That's great.
Ridiculous.
Netflix doesn't make you any money, by the way.
And here's the thing, like, I'll just add this, and thank you for saying all that. Like,
Can I add one more thing before you say this?
Yeah.
So the total buy-in, 835, 225 for the year. Essentially, are you willing to put $1,000 aside to bet on yourself in 1 year's time? I committed to myself in 2020 when I was starting to research with Paul. I said, I have $4,000 saved up, and I'm going to bet on myself with $4,000 that I will be able to make money in this hobby, and I will return more than $4,000. And you know, I didn't necessarily have a time limit on it, but when we started, I had $4,000, and my portfolio is worth more than that now.
Let's go.
Put it that way. I bet on myself. Guys, we are two dudes out here betting on ourselves. You know who people love stories where people bet on themselves and it works out. Look at the 1-year contracts people are taking to get a Supermax deal in the NBA. You know, like, bet on yourself here. Put $1,000 aside, $1,100 aside, invest in one of these things, buy the nooffseason.com year-long membership, invest in a tool that is not just arbitrary information, not emotional information. This is hard data, and bet on yourself. Bet on yourself and get some grit and get some wins, because in 5 years, your family is going to very much appreciate when you pay for a bathroom remodel from Sports Card Profits. That's a personal testimony.
I literally just paid for a bathroom remodel with Sports Card Profits.
Then that's 2 bathroom remodels that we've made.
We want you guys to all do that too.
All right, now, sorry, I had to get on a little.
No, I love it, man. I love it, and I could go in any number of directions, but I think the best one is that I use this every night. Like, before I built this, I just would go on eBay and I would be like, well, it would be great to get a Jason Tatum Prism Silver PSA 10 from 2017, and it's $750. And I think that I can sell that for $925 in May. Well, that's a loss. That's a loss. So like, what am I doing? So now I just, instead of like being on the couch hanging out with the fam and everyone's like in their shells and stuff at night, and you know, and it's a commercial or whatever, and instead of just getting on eBay, I'm getting on nooffseason.com and I'm going to the formula. I literally do this every night, and I'm like, like, what's the data tell me tonight? And then I'm like, okay, let me click this Chet Holmgren 2022 Prism Silver. I mean, Lefty, you know me. I never would have said, this is the other thing I like about this. I never would have said buy Chet Holmgren right now. Why?
While the Thunder are in the playoffs.
While the Thunder are in the playoffs. Exactly.
Number 1 seed.
Exactly. I never would have said that. So now what I love about the formula is, you know, we need to keep running as many cards as we can through this. And that's the other thing we're doing every day. We're putting more and more cards through it, and we keep the data updated every second of every day. So now what I do is at night when I'm chilling, I pull up this page, and it works really well on mobile. So I get on my phone, log into nooffseason.com, go to the formula-based rankings. When you click any of these cards or tap it on your mobile, it opens up that player's profile page, and then we are linking directly to eBay listings, curated searches for those cards. So then I go in and I'm like, okay, which of these Prism Silver Raws for Chet can I get for around $28 that I think are going to gem? And look, if I can't find any, that's fine. I move on to the next one. I just move on to the next guy. That's part of it, right? It shouldn't be easy to go find like the gemmable Chet that is at $28. Like, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I'm saying like, this is what your guidelines are. And if you need to move to the next one, move to the next one. You're going to end up finding, trust me, Victor Wembanyama 2023 Prism Base 136 is like in the top 20, and that's still returning a 50% ROI. You're going to find that card. And that card has like a 60% gem rate. So you're going to go through this, and you're going to get through the top 20, and you're already going to have bought 3 or 4 cards on your way to making money.
So let me ask you a personal question here, Paul. In regards to your preference, there are some here that have higher buy-ins, lower cards needed. Are you the let's buy the $8 Bronny James card 29 times? Or are you the let's buy a $600 downtown from Trevor Lawrence 3 times?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'm
'Cause I
more
can tell you
on
where I'm
the
at.
I'm right now more on the bigger transaction, less amount of time. If I can find one big card that has that high upside that I think is going to gem, and if it mints, right, if it nines, then I'm not out a ton of money. I'm maybe out the grading fee and the eBay fees of selling it and things like that. I'm all about like the less transactions, the better, just because I'm already wanting to do a high volume of transactions. So if I can get the one big card like the Trevor Lawrence downtown for that, or even, there's other cards on here too that are similar to that, right? Like Anthony Richardson downtown, like there's downtowns and kabooms are big on this list. The Paul Skeens refractor auto is on here. You've got a Max Clark. I know you don't like Max Clark, but that's another good example of why it doesn't matter. Max Clark's 2023 Bowman Draft Chrome refractor auto. There's only 499 of them, but if you can get one, it's $305. If you can get one that you think is going to gem, that's almost a 40% ROI. So I'm more on the bigger card side to answer your question. I'd still would. I'm not above buying 30 Bronny James refractors for like $8 to $10 a piece. I'll do that because that's still fun to me and fulfilling, and it'll make me the money. But then, as you know, we've talked about this a lot before. Like, then I have to mail 30. I have to receive and then mail and grade and mail 30 cards versus one. And that's kind of why I'm more on the, not because I'm like a big shooter, big spender. It's spending the same amount of money, actually. Like, literally spending like pretty much the same amount of money. Like, you're spending like, okay, you're spending $1,000 more. So it's not the same amount of money. I was wrong. But you're still spending $830 when you're buying the lower budget card, is my point, to make 1,000, and you have to transact, basically 60 times.
Yeah.
Instead of two.
That would have been my preference too. I mean, like, lo and behold, you find one massive collection of Bronny James refractors, and you're just like, I'm just going to buy all 29 of them right here. But also you got to think about grading fees. I know you have baked in here the grading fees, but some of these will be bulk plays. Some of these will be 20 card submission plays. And some of these will, like, if you're grading that Trevor Lawrence downtown, you're probably going to go and send it in for grading right when you get it, right?
Yeah,
so
and
that grading fee is a little bit different too.
Yeah, and I think like it's true, and this what I'm about to say might be slightly different than what you're alluding to, but like for me, I think what we don't talk about enough is the fact that sometimes you have to grade a card that probably won't gem because you need a 20th card to get to the bulk submission.
I do that. Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Personal cards that I grew up having, like I graded this, I graded a Tom Brady Sports Illustrated for Kids card that I pulled when I was younger. Like I would have not graded that.
That's a great example.
Like
I think like, there's other content creators that will say like, oh, I'm buying all these, and there's like there's nooffseason.com family members that will be like, I'm buying all these raw and I'm only going to grade the ones that I think are going to gem. And I'm like, okay, cool. But you're actually sometimes costing yourself money doing that, because if you just graded the cards that you thought could gem, even though they probably won't, in the end, you're spending less money, even though you might not be grossing more. You're spending less because you can get to the bulk grading fee faster, and you don't have to wait on the clock, on the calendar rather.
Sweet. I mean, I think this is all incredibly beneficial material, as the soapbox that I got on a second ago basically advocated for saying the exact same thing.
Thank you.
Let's go on to our amazing co-host commercial guy. Let's go to him, and then we'll come back with this.
Kendall, are these people ready to start grading their sports cards? CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today.
CGC, we told you we'd be back with them. They make clear cards. They do what they do. They do a really good job at what they do. They have been around a long time, and they are great at what they do. And I have one last question about the formula. When this pops off, Paul, do you see it adjusting regularly because people will be sniping a lot of the same cards?
I think that
obviously the more people that have this data, the more people are going to be looking for an $8 Bronny James.
That's true. I've started to get that question actually a lot from the no offseason fam. I mean, what do you think? Like, not to answer the question with a question, but my answer is that what I always tell people is that I believe, based on just say the number of eBay listings for any given search query, that like it'll tell you, like, the proof is in the data. I mean, there's tens of millions of us in the hobby, and I can tell you that, like, you know, if I were to do the math, that's like, I don't know, 0.000000001% maybe could be the nooffseason.com fam, you know, of that number, of that.
I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit.
But I mean, if you're saying, like, if this or when this does pop off, then I guess, yeah, we could have I guess we could have a problem at some point, but there would need to be, I think there would need to be
where the hell are all these Tiger Woods cards going?
There would have to be millions of us all doing the same thing.
Which there could
be. Because listening to us. Right now, there's not millions. I mean,
39, actually.
There's 39 right now, currently. I
think that would be a great problem to have for those of you that are out there sitting waiting for us to give you an opportunity to come in here and make some money. Millions of you, come on in and help us have a incredible problem of figuring out a new way to make money, because that's what we do. That's what Paul and Lefty do, is we get hit with an obstacle and we just redirect towards money making. It's what we've done literally for 4 years. You know, we're like, this made us money before. It stops making us money. We stop doing it. We go find another way to make money doing sports cards. That's just what we do. That's what's made us who we are. And that's who we're going to be when this formula shakes out, when millions are using it. Matt Lane does have a good question here about the formula. He said, just curious, if you're using the formula on bigger cards, how does the PSA upcharge play into this?
I think that, okay, that's a good question. It does play into this because we have built in higher grading fees for higher upside cards, but this is actually a good lead into what I kind of wanted to talk about this for a second. I'm working on a crack end grade tab for this, because that's kind of the thing that's missing right now, is the crack and submit to PSA. And so, to Matt's question, it's a great question. There's going to be more grading fees, higher grading fees for those cards, because not only will there be the potential to bump up to the next service level more, there will be more options, like maybe it's such a higher dollar card that you're not cracking it, but you're crossing it over.
Yeah.
So when you cross it over, you've got like like it ends up being like $150 at least with everything, just to get a card back. So you got to build that in, and we got to figure out a way for that. The reason that hasn't launched yet is because we got to figure out a way to basically
make it one spreadsheet instead of like 7.
Yeah, well, like you could have one spreadsheet with all the different grades of Michael Jordan 1986 Fleer. You could just have like one, like that could dominate the crack end grade or the crossover end grade. And we got to have something for like, okay, what happens if if there is like a crossover versus a crack or like, all these so it's a little bit trickier. I'm working on it right now. And in the meantime, like that's actually what I'm trying to focus my next plays on. Like I haven't really made a play yet, but I've been bidding on the Jordan 86 Fleer in like BGS grades, like, and BGS like half grades.
Yeah, I saw that one on the bottom of the already graded list.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a good question, Matt. So the short answer is it does account for that. Like
Cool.
it's built in, but it's also not like, I think Lefty, to me, it's not that big of a deal with the upcharge. I mean, if you're getting upcharged,
we've talked about that so many times. Like that's the best email you get, dude.
Yeah.
The best email you get is, you know what? We had to bump your service level up a little bit because this card is actually worth a lot of money.
Yeah. It's like
dang it.
You're happy to go from, what would it be? Like you would go from 20 to like $50 or 20 to $75 or something like that for a card. And then you would, so I mean, yeah, I'd be pumped. I've never had that happen to me, but hopefully
I have had that happen to me. And
you have? Okay.
Yeah. Sean says, great. My wife just heard she's getting a new bathroom remodel from my profits. Thanks, guys. And what I said back to him was, you're welcome, Sean. We bought you a longer runway here. So you have longer of a runway for the social tax of your wife bringing in bubble mailers from your mailbox every single day. You have more of a runway if you buy her a sick, awesome bathroom remodel.
I love Sean. Good work, Sean.
Let's talk about it. Okay. Obviously, now that we've addressed the formula, it'll bleed into everything else we talk about forever, probably.
Yes, sir.
Like every time that we do shows together from now on, we will reference that. If for what it's worth, you've sold me on it. You had sold me on it before. Let's just be clear on that. But I'm just saying, like, I thought you did a fantastic job explaining it. For those of you guys that are still confused, take your confusion and give it 30 days. Go to nooffseason.com, log in, look at the spreadsheet. If you're so overwhelmed right away, just cancel on your first day. But I guarantee you when you see it, you'll be like, wow, I could use this.
And if you're overwhelmed in your first day, just ask a question on the Overflow show, right?
Hey, there we go. Great.
And then if the answer sucks, then cancel.
Then cancel. But we're excited about what's going on at nooffseason.com. Off season. We're excited about what's going on over there. And you've put a fantastic formula together. And nobody dropped in the comments what the two people were that you brought up in the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah, I thought Krim might have been astute enough to do that, but maybe he's not paying attention anymore.
I would doubt that he put it in there because he's already Googling or he's already eBaying.
Oh, okay.
I would bet he's like, I'm not going to drop it so I can get ahead of other people.
Love it.
But let's talk about the National here for a minute. We've talked about Dallas. We've talked about the formula. One of our favorite things to do together is walk the floor at the National. Is the first time I ever met you was at the National in Atlantic City, which was a horrible experience for the most part, except for the fact that Paul Hickey and I got to figure out how much of a height difference we have between us. And we got to walk around the floor together and meet a lot of people in our network that are still a part of our network. And then we got to be really a part of each other's national experience last year, where we were with each other for the entire time. And barring a national disaster, we're going to be in Cleveland together this year at the National doing what we do again. How will this year look different for you, Paul? Like, how will you potentially approach the National with a new lens?
This year's going to be different because we're not going to be cracking people's slabs for free at our booth. Nothing bonds two people together. Like,
I'm willing to make $5 a crack if that's what you would have me do.
You were amazing last year. I mean, nothing bonds two friends together like watching each other nearly screw up like $5,000 cards. I mean, I almost screwed up someone's card. You never almost screwed up anything. You were perfect, but
that $11,000 Kareem card. Holy
unbelievable. And then my near disaster was actually the twins who run the California Road Show shop. One of them brought a Dwayne Johnson SI for kids over.
I remember that.
And I was cracking that, and it got a little dicey there. And then I had to pull out one of my moves where I go down and crack the bottom corner. And then
risky.
there was a little plastic left on the bottom corner. And I made it happen. And then it got the grade that he wanted to get at the grading company. Anyway, I'm excited for Cleveland. We've got actually the nooffseason.com fam has like Ryan Painter, Gary from Hoops and Cards, Cleo Cards that are in Cleveland. So there's a large contingent beyond that group of nooffseason.com family members that live in and around the Cleveland area. So I'm excited. The National will look different though, from my perspective of, okay, so we're not setting up the same way that we did last year with our guy, Tim Larson, who was awesome from Signs of the Time Collectibles. This year, we may, this is like a soft announcement. Like it's not for real yet, but CGC,
we getting the scoop right now?
We're getting the scoop right now. CGC Cards, the great people over at CGC Cards have told me that there's a strong chance that they're going to have a booth and that we can set up in their booth and podcast from their booth at the National, which would be outstanding.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, Lefty, I think what I'm most excited for is like going back to year one, like we did together, and just walking the show floor together and making transactions. I mean, I'll clearly be wearing as many Sports Card Strategy Show logos as I possibly can. But other than that, I'm just there to, you're going to
put the gray shirt down and
transact. I'm gonna wear a new shirt,
a fresh out of the box Sports Card Strategy Show.
I will be in full promotion mode, but I'll also be in full transaction buy sell mode at the National, and I'm excited about it. It's gonna be fun.
That's cool.
And we are probably gonna have a golf outing with our friends from Graybo's the day before the National starts. And I know you're like a scratch handicap, so I'm a little scared to play.
I really don't even know what that means. That tells you how bad I'm at golf.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drive. And make Instagram videos for all of us.
That's perfect. That'll be fun. Duke just wants to talk Bowman with you, so
that's fine.
That'll be great. So the National will be fun. I can't wait. We've actually got an extra VIP pass that we can give away to an audience member if we need to.
We can do that.
It'd be great. You want to drop a comment below? Tell us.
Holy moly.
The VIP pass.
What a hot release.
So we love the fam. But yeah, man, I can't wait. It's going to be great. So Dallas and the National, those are the two on the calendar for me. I'd love to go to more, but it's hard to get. I mean, I feel like everybody out there is probably in the same boat. Like I feel like we all want to go to every card show, but we got to live life too, you know?
So here's what I think we should do, Paul. Here's what I think we should do. I think we should run an Instagram promotion between nooffseason.com and Lefty Cards. And we'll put all this together later, but be looking out for it. We'll give away this VIP pass per Instagram. We'll do a follow and like, reshare. That way we can both like have an awesome time. We get a lot of people involved, create some buzz, and we'll give away a VIP pass. How's that sound? Perfect. I'm in. There we go. All right. That's why I love it, like just hanging out with Paul, because when we hang out, it's dangerous. It's dangerous because our lives are going to be different when we leave the room, because we're both idea guys. We're both creators, and we're both like, dude, let's just, you want to do this? Let's just get crazy and do this, you know? And you're like, what if we did this, you know, like, and we just leave with 25 ideas. So
can I throw something out there? Speaking of that real quick, one of the let's just do this, which was great that I have to give you credit for, was 2 years ago. You said, Paul, my guy and I you were running your breaking company at the time. You were like, we're going to buy a case of 2022 Bowman baseball. Do you want to split the case with us? And I was like, yes. Why? And you were like,
absolutely. Why?
and you were like, Ellie De La Cruz, number 1. Number 2, Jackson Chourio. Number 3, James Wood. All of their first Bowmans. And, not only paper, but of course, chrome, the refractors, the serial numbered, short printed, and the autos that we all want came out of that release. And this week, Lefty, I know you know it, 2024 Bowman baseball is coming out. So I wanted to ask you, do you think Bowman 2024 could be as good to rip and grade as Bowman 2022 baseball was?
Wow, what a question.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
You know what? I'm prepared for this. I think, okay, I'm on record many times over. You would have to dig for it because there are a lot of episodes ago. But I am on record for saying that 2022 Bowman might be the best release in 10 years. Like we might look back and be like James Wood, Jackson Chourio, Ellie De La Cruz doesn't even hold a candle to the 2019 Bowman, which is stacked. 2019, 2022, favorite releases so far. I think 2024 Bowman is close, but no, I'm not going to put it above 22. Here's why. I think what happened with Ellie and what happened with Jackson was special in a way of they came from nothing. I think, I don't remember the exact number, but I think Ellie signed for like $18,000 or something. Like they just basically paid for a flight to America and said, here's rent for a year, and then he went out and got another organization to front him like $400,000 so that he could have a chef basically. And like, that's a whole different story that I talked to, that would be very interesting to dive into. The company that loans people basically their salary for a percentage of career earnings. That's a totally different thing. And I don't even know if you know what I'm talking about there, but it's an incredible thing. So these players are going out and basically saying you can have 25% of everything I earn in the future if you give me a front load, basically, so I can afford to have a professional training staff to make myself the best I can be. Ellie De La Cruz did that. And so this organization is going to make a career return of all of his career earnings because they fronted some development costs for him. Great business model, by the way, especially when the minor league baseball was not at a place where it is now, which it still is underpaid. But at the time, he was making nothing basically. And so he knew he was going to have a premium amount of money to have a premium amount of training. So that's a different story for a different day, but I'll just leave it at that Jackson and him and all that, they were just so young. They went so far off and they became out of nowhere and they just exploded. This one will have some very big names, but I think they will have big names in a way of like, if they don't go out instantly flaming in the MLB, we will see a large drop in their prices. But I mean, look at what just happened with Jackson Holiday. That's exactly what could happen with Cruz and Walker. And there's other people in this release. I'll talk about Teal for a second. Teal is in this release. Kyle Teal, I believe, is his first name. Me and names. So Kyle Teal is another guy that I'm excited about in this release. Sebastian Walcott has his first auto in this release. It's not his first Bowman, but it is his first auto. We have Yamamoto with his first rookie auto in this in a Dodgers uniform.
That card looks sick, by the way.
Looks so sick. And so there's a lot of great cards in this set, but I think a lot of them have the potential to fly off of a cliff if they don't come out hot. Walker probably doesn't have the opportunity to fly off a cliff. Dylan Cruz for sure has an opportunity to fly off a cliff based on if he comes out and doesn't do exactly what everybody's expecting him to do. Yamamoto has an opportunity if he gets hurt or anything like that. That card is a rookie auto. It's going to be very short print. I mean, that's a tough card to evaluate anyway. Then you have Sebastian Walcott's not his first auto. Kyle Teal is a great player and has come out of nowhere, but you know, and is in that Red Sox system. He's going to be very good as a hitter, but I just don't think we're going to see 22 Bowman. And I don't think we're going to quite see 19 Bowman. I think we are going to see a much better Bowman than 21, which I have on record also said is the worst Bowman that I have been a part of over the last 5 years. The worst Bowman release was 21. No, wait, maybe it was 2020. It was the one with Blaze Jordan is now the only chase in that set. Austin Martin has already made the majors, and he did not see hardly any of a spike when he made the majors. So that's where I'm at with that. I was willing and ready to go to the 24 Bowman talk. But you know, we got our man Dr. Kraken here saying Kraken cards was a blast and Cruz is struggling so far. And so that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like Cruz could potentially fall off of a cliff. Now, we weren't expecting him to be in this release because of all the Panini news that I don't even know what that was now. Now I'm still
I think I know what it was.
Good.
It just didn't have the word exclusive in it. That's all it was. You know, so I'm learning this as we go, right? It's like Panini puts out all these press releases all the time. All the companies are putting out all these press releases and they get reposted on social media everywhere. And it just didn't have the word exclusive. And so that's a key thing, is that if it doesn't say exclusive, then it doesn't really mean anything. If it says exclusive, okay, now all of a sudden, you know, but here's the other thing. Like, we never know, even if it says exclusive, we never know how long the contracts are for. So it could have been, it either wasn't exclusive or it was an exclusive deal for a certain amount of time and now it's ended and now he can be in this release. So yes, I understand that it's really confusing, and you know, I would appreciate it if the companies did a little bit better job of communicating what's actually happening. But I feel like I've done a better job actually asking what's going on. So that's why I'm trying to learn more about what the deal is. So that's all I can give you there.
No, that's fine. Brad Smith, you don't have a dumb question here. This is actually a really common question that we have. Dumb question is what Brad Smith says, even though I don't think it's a dumb question. He says, "Hey fellas, dumb question. There's chrome in baseball or Bowman baseball, correct?" Yes, there is, Brad. It is a not only chrome product, which is the downside of Bowman baseball. You're going to get a lot of paper in this particular set. You're going to have a lot of paper first. You're going to have a lot of paper first. You're going to have a lot of paper autos. There actually are out there in paper autos. There are some of the lower end prospects that have paper autos in this set. But you are going to have paper things go out. And that's why you see paper firsts of Jackson Holiday, things like that. There are paper firsts out there of these players, but there are a decent amount. I would say probably about 5. Well, it depends on if you're doing the hobbies or if you're doing the blasters, but there's about 5 chrome cards per blaster. The 5 probably worth it chrome cards. The other ones are going to be inserts that aren't going to be worth hardly anything. So if you are breaking or if you are going to buy a Bowman 24 pack off the shelf, you're going to get more paper than you're going to get chrome. That's just how it is. Bowman Chrome in the middle of the year is all chrome, and then you have the Mojos as well. But that's like a ton of chrome cards that don't mean anything because they're second and third year cards of whoever. So it's all a ploy. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, it's in chrome, or yes, there's chromes in there. But Brad, buy them off eBay. Don't try to rip your way through a pack. You're gonna lose your butt in cards, and you're gonna have trash everywhere. Promise me this. You start ripping wax, you're gonna have just paper everywhere, and you're gonna have way too much cards than you know what to do with, and you're gonna be frustrated because you might pop one card that's worth a good money, but you're gonna have a lot of stock. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, you know what was in that 2022 Bowman was also Wander Franco's rookie card.
Good grief.
At the time, it was another reason why it was a good rip. Obviously, that's one of the many reasons why we say sell when you get it back from PSA or sell at the selling marker, right? Because you just never know what's going to happen. But no, Brad, that was a good question. I mean, I had all of those questions and more a few years ago. when Lefty and I were just getting started creating content together. So he's been major resource for me and just breaking it down, right? Because wasn't Ethan Salas's first in Chrome last year? Like there's a bunch of weird stuff that happens, right? It's like,
yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff based on when the players are signing or when their agents are agreeing to a Topps autograph deal. So for instance, Jack Leiter still doesn't have autos. He's already made his MLB debut and he never had an auto. So eventually I would imagine in Chrome this year, he'll have a rookie auto, but it'll be a rookie first auto, which will be so strange. I don't even know. I don't know what are they going to put the rookie shield on there? Are they going to put the first logo on there? Are they going to put it all on there? Who knows?
And so like Ohtani doesn't have a first logo on his Bowman, and Yamamoto now has the RC auto, and it's not a first Bowman. And I can assume that would be for Yamamoto because he never played in the minor leagues. He just went directly into his pro debut, and so they just said, we got to give him a rookie card. We can't give him a first Bowman and a rookie card in the same year. So we're going to forego the first Bowman and give him a rookie card because we can't give him a rookie card next year because then he's a second year.
Topps does make MPB cards, and he does have cards in MPB that Topps has already made.
True.
It's not in Bowman per se, but it is another Topps product that he does have cards in.
If we could do a panel with the Topps representatives, these would be great questions. I would say,
Lordy, that would be such good content.
Why does Yamamoto have a rookie card and not a first Bowman? Is Bowman only for prospects? And why does Ohtani, his Bowman, I don't even think it has an RC shield, and it definitely doesn't have a first on it. There's just a whole, my point is,
there's so many, there's variables,
just a whole ton of weird stuff going on with the Bowman.
The general consensus is yes, there are chromes, and yes, there are firsts, and yes, there are rookie autos. Let's go to another commercial, talk about our guys over there at Market Movers.
Yo, Lefty, we use a lot of data, don't we? Well, I just want everyone to know that they can get the same data we get by signing up at marketmoversapp.com. Sign up at marketmoversapp.com today, but use the promo code NOOFFSEASON to save 20% after a free 14-day trial. That's marketmoversapp.com, promo code NOOFFSEASON.
Way to go, Paul. You've done a great job doing these commercials. I love having your face on here twice. It's pretty comical. So this is about the time of the show where we're wrapping up. We are, you know, we're long-winded guys. So I would say us wrapping up is probably not
going to be another 40 minutes or
yeah. It's like when a preacher says, and then for my last point, you know, and then he's like, you know, an hour left. So, but I want to talk about, we've talked a lot about the history of what you and I have gone through. I want to say, and when we did our write-up earlier today, when I sent you, or earlier this week, when I sent you the notes of what we're going to go over, I said, let's talk about our favorite plays over the last year. And I put some in there, but I don't know exactly what your favorites are. I just gave you some things to shoot from. So let's go in a snake draft here from a 3-2-1. So my three, or actually, I'll let you go first since you're the guest. Yeah, 3-3-2-2-1-1.
Perfect. I love it. Well, okay. My first one, which I guess would be, I'm counting down from 3
your
to
third
1.
Ranked play of the year.
My third ranked play of all time in our relationship is the one I already mentioned, subtly, where I'll tell the audience actually what the inside scoop was when I mentioned Jordan Poole's 2019 Contenders Optic Rookie Ticket Auto. I was at the National in 2022 with Lefty and in Atlantic City, and hanging out with Chase Krim at the Texas Roadshow booth. Always phenomenal cards with the Texas Roadshow guys. And Krim he had heard me talking about Jordan Poole on the Sports Card Strategy Show, and had a on-card auto. Loved it. Sold it to me for $300, which was under comps. Like I would have made money on it right then, but I had it graded and it came back a 10, PSA 10, and I sold it. So I bought it for $300 and sold it for like $1,025 when it came back. And
love that.
that was like, I knew like I was due for a play like that at the time, and I just hadn't had one yet. Like I'd never like 3x'd anything or even come close to 3x'd anything like that. And that was like one of my first really, really big ones. So it's got to be in there, man.
Yeah, I think my number 3, by the way, I love that play. Didn't mean to immediately jump into that. And I think Krim making it into that play is a fun narrative as well, because people listening to this show, they know. The issue, or not the issue, the thing that I'm thinking about is I typically buy baseball and soccer cards. That's typically where I'm at. And I painfully buy football cards. And then I like to dip into basketball cards, but I typically get over emotional on basketball cards. For those of you out there that know Lefty lore, I was a college basketball coach for a little bit. So there's part of me that just loves to watch basketball and gets super emotional about it very quickly. But my third favorite play that I've made in the calendar year was at the time you had said, I think this is a bad time to be buying that card. And I bought 2 PSA 10 rookie ticket autos of Tyrese Maxey in the first round of their playoff run last year. Which at the time I was like, I just don't think he has enough respect. And one of my favorite it didn't make the list because I had to prove you wrong. But it is on there. You know, that is a hashtag on the end of this statement.
If we did a list of when you proved me wrong, it would be way too long of a show. So just
well, what I'm trying to say here is that just added to like me following a conviction play, basically, which I don't do very much now because we have things like the formula where I don't have to make conviction plays. But there are some times where you just feel something, and I was feeling Tyrese Maxey, and I was like, this dude is a bucket. Like, he's just such a bucket, and he's from Kentucky. Like, it just made sense for me, and I was just like, I bought 2 Tyrese Maxey rookie ticket autos, one of a red parallel and one a base image variation. And I made tons of money back selling right before Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year. It was a very short-term hold for me, and I ended up making some crazy Maxey money. And I'm really excited about Maxey's development now, but I'm even more excited watching him knowing that he's already made me money and I don't have to go back to that well. And I can just watch him be an absolute unit. And of course, they did just leave the playoffs, so I probably have a buying opportunity to go back into Tyrese Maxey at this point. But what a guy. He's my number 3.
Love it, man. Yeah. I'll go to my number 2 in the same vein that you just said. It's fun to make money on a guy and then be out of him and then just root for him after that. Like, I think there's so many things that you and I like share a brain on that I feel like maybe not many other people do, I guess. Like, because I think like most people would be like, oh, you know, I wish I still had some of that guy because now his value is going up, kind of a thing. But like my number 2 play actually just happened last week. I just sold an Anthony Edwards 2020 Prism Silver PSA 10. I sold it for $830, and I was only $80 into it because I bought an HGA 9.5 last year, February 2023, and I cracked it, and I got a PSA 10, and I just held it. And you know, I could have sold it multiple times for $500, and I just said, I'm going to wait till the playoffs. I'm going to wait till like there's hype around Ant-Man because he's a guy like that goes way back.
Is there hype right now on him?
They're hype right now. One just went for $1,100 yesterday. So some could say, well, you left $300 on the table. I say, no, I'm cool rooting for Ant-Man, rooting for that card to continue to go up because that's my only 10x ever on one play. That's the only time I've ever 10x'd anything. So it's got to be in my top 3. And you know, it's timely, obviously, because of what you just said. He's going off right now, but I also like it because there's meat on the bone for other people. And you mentioned the one-on-one strategist package at nooffseason.com. So I've done a lot of work with people one-on-one this year. And that's a card that I recommended that all the people who are one-on-one strategist members buy. And they all bought in much higher than I did. They all bought in for around $500. So it makes me feel good now that they're all liquidating for a profit and I 10x the play and right card for the right player at the right time. And so but like you did with Maxi, I had the feeling on Ant-Man and I feel like I sold at the right time and I'm okay if that card keeps going up. That's fine. Yeah. I got mine and I'm still rooting for Ant. I mean, I love him. He's my, other than Giannis, he's my favorite NBA player for sure, active right now.
Yeah. My number 2 is we saw big wins from him earlier in the season and during the tournament. And so this was around the tournament time where the in-season tournament. Tyrese Halliburton had an incredible run right before the end of the in-season tournament. His Prism Silvers were going for money that I just did not expect. And I was able to buy into a card from his that is that I have a lot of profit room on. And here's what I'll just say this. I have not sold the card yet. Not saying I haven't had the chance to sell the card yet, because I don't think I had enough room on this card already where I could sell it today and I would make money. And I don't think we're done seeing the last of Tyrese Halliburton. I think this Indiana team is on the cusp of doing something. And now when you add that Indianapolis is also getting Caitlin Clark, I don't know if that adds to the Pacer lore, but I do know that there's something crazy going on in Indiana, and Indiana loves basketball. I'll just put it that way. And so I'm excited that I still have this silver 10, and I'm excited. It was one of my favorite buys of the year, and it will eventually be one of my greatest sales, unless I just keep it forever and I hand it down to my kids. And when Tyrese Halliburton goes in the Hall of Fame, they can sell it. But and I did see Chad just says up 6.5 over the Knicks. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Like Halliburton is just a guy that I just did not expect him to be as good as he is. But when I saw it happening, I was like, he's got more in the tank. So he's my number 2, very similar to Ant-Man. So we have named several basketball players here. I'm curious, is your number 1 a basketball player?
Yeah, I didn't even realize my first 2 were like basketball is my hardest sport to make money on. And
me too. That's why I think I'm so excited that my number 3 and 2 were basketball.
Yeah, same here. And it is my favorite sport. I mean, it is definitely my favorite sport. Although like the NFL is, I mean, probably 1B. I just love the NFL. But anyway, okay, so I was going to do another basketball play, but because you said that, I'm going to do a football play.
You can tell me your basketball play, but still mention the football play.
Okay, so the basketball play was the Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, it gotta be. That just makes so much sense. So Wembanyama could have been mine as well. We made crap tons of money with Wembanyama play. Many Wembanyama plays.
That's the most net profit from so the Ant-Man was the most return on investment. The most net profit was the Victor Wembanyama play. It was like a 4x, not a 10x, but it was like I made like almost 3,000 net profit on that play. Same. And for those of you who don't know, I just basically went out and bought every Sports Illustrated for Kids magazine I could find that was the February 2023 issue. So it was his first ever like licensed card in his Metropolitans uniform, and just tore them all out of the magazine, submitted them to PSA, ended up with like 13 really nice grades from, I think 4 was the lowest grade I got. And I got a couple 7s. I think I had like 2 or 3 7s. So those things just, I mean, everybody wanted them. My original selling marker was going to be the NBA draft, but I ended up selling all of them in May when the Spurs won the draft lottery, because it was more hype around that. I said, I'm selling them early. But the other one that I'm really proud of is Shedeur Sanders. I mean, this is one too that you made. Like am I sniping your play here?
No, you weren't.
Because you bought this card before I did. You bought the Shedeur Onyx auto
at $12.
$20. $12 Lefty got this for, and I think we got it we talked about it in the sports card strategy show in like 2022, early 2022. We talked about it before. I mean, the Shador was at Jackson State still.
Mhm.
He hadn't even been in the Super Bowl commercial yet when the Rams won the Super Bowl. This was before that. And so Lefty and I were super early on this. This Onyx auto at the time was the only one he had. Lefty bought it. And then after he transferred to Colorado, right before he made his debut last year at Colorado, I thought, I've got to get me one of these, because if this thing pops off like Lefty and I know it's going to, I need some cash back from this because we knew about it. And I'm going to be kicking myself if I don't actually make the play. Well, I had to be like 200 all in for mine, including the grading fee. Whereas Lefty was only like, $40 maybe into his after the grading fee. I don't even know if you graded yours, but anyway.
I didn't.
So I got
sold
a
it
PSA
raw for $280 or
That's
something.
amazing. So you like what, 12 or 14 X tiers?
Yep. It's
I
the
was
biggest
like
win I've ever had.
200 in, and I think I sold mine. It was a PSA 9 Onyx auto. I think I sold mine for like just under 700. So I went from 200 to 700. Lefty went from 12 to 200 and something. Phenomenal play like that. And then it was perfect timing too, because then his first Bowman's came out right after that. So then I bought in, like I waited until Colorado sucked later on in the year. And then, as many of you know, probably most of you don't, but many of you may know, I'm like 25% of my entire sports card investment portfolio is Shador Sanders. So I'll be looking to sell his. Go ahead and read Chad's comment, because that's really classic.
This is just
really
so
classic.
Chad says, I made nothing on the digital magazine Wimbies because we thought for about a minute and a half, we thought we were on to something, finding $5 versions of Sports Illustrated for kids that would be sent to us.
When Chad first came on the sports card strategy show, Kendall and I were telling all these people to get the Wembies, right? Chad's like, I found this website where you can get these.
Well, you can just order the magazine for $5. And we were like, the card itself is selling for crazy money. Just buy 100 of those and have 100 of them show up. You're gonna be a millionaire.
Chad, thanks for putting the ball on the tee for us on that one. That was perfect.
And Chad was buying digital magazines, NFTs of Wimby, if you will.
Yeah, luckily we caught it on the same episode. Like we later on in the same episode,
I was so excited about the opportunity. I was doing it as we were talking about it. I'm on the computer like, I have to get these now before everyone just sells out. And
we both went and did it, and I'm like,
that was so funny.
That's interesting. I don't think this actually has cards.
You just said this, but I want to go back to this. 2023 Sports Illustrated for Kids, Victor Wembanyama. You said you had a 4. That's what you said?
Yeah, I had like multiple 4s. I had multiple 5s, multiple 6s, and multiple 7s.
So do you remember what a 6 was, or a 6 or a 7 was selling for at the time?
I think I know this. My 7s sold for like between 500 and 700.
Okay.
I think my 4s sold for more like 250 or around 250 ish.
So I just got curious, and I was like, I wonder where that card's at right now. On May 5th, so yesterday, there was a Sports Illustrated for Kids Victor Wembanyama PSA 6 that sold for $195. So it's crazy. That card still has pretty nice value for a PSA 6 when you were able to turn a PSA 4 into about $200. And Victor has way more cards now.
Tons of cards. Yeah, and that's true. The power of investment.
Not an investment that I would encourage. There was a BGS 8 that sold yesterday for almost $1,000. Not an investment I would encourage, but just saying, it's still out there.
The other thing you and I came up with was the whole, can you just bet on one player over and over again thing? And that's Wemby for me. Like, I'm still buying, of course, per the formula, I'm buying tons of the Wemby prisms and variations of the Wemby prisms because it just makes sense. I mean, he sells.
Buying those Chinese versions.
I think I bought a couple from China. Yeah, we'll see if if PSA actually grades them. They're at PSA right now.
That's funny. Well, my number one, Paul, is not a basketball player, and it was just a fun get, really. And it goes back to these MPB cards we talked about earlier. When Yamamoto when I found out that he had chromes that are in MPB cards that you could buy for $6 at Walgreens, I felt like I was robbing people. I felt like I was robbing Walgreens for some reason. And I was going in there and I was saying, please let me purchase this. I was buying MPB cards from Walgreens, and I was ended up selling those PSA 10s of that card for triple digits. So my favorite play of the year was when Yamamoto came on the scene and officially signed for the Dodgers, and I was able to move all of my chromes. I actually was, weirdly enough, I was able to make more money on my raws than I was like X return wise than I was on my PSA 10, which was kind of crazy. But that was the one time I've ever had that play not do more X potential return on a graded card than on a raw card. But I sold them in lots, and so somebody overpaid basically for them because they were just so excited to get them. And so Yamamoto's cards have definitely fallen off from where they were. We used that perfect timing of saying, get completely out of this guy at this point. You don't want to be holding pitcher cards into their career. And then he got absolutely shelled week 1 in the MLB. And I was just like, I'm so glad we got out. Now he's turned into a nice Dodger pitcher now, and he's probably going to be very, very good, which is why we brought up his rookie autos earlier in the episode. But that specific MPB card is probably my favorite play just because of the way that we had to get them. Like the process and the game that came with it was really fun. So
I love it. I've actually seen so many of those packs in the last few weeks at my Walgreens. There's so many tops, but they're not chrome though. They're like tops paper NPB 2021. So they've got Roki Sasaki in them too.
Hey, well, you might as well.
So Kendall, actually, I know we've gone long here, but just real quick, like what 3 plays in the future will be your top 3 plays? Like what have you been cooking up that you've got right now that you haven't sold yet that you're like confident that you're gonna make money on?
I think, okay, that's fair. One of the ones that I'm really confident on is a play that we both made that I have not gotten out of yet is Archie Manning. I'm still sitting on my Archie PSA 10s. I have, I believe, 10 of them at this point. These Prism throwback 10s. I think I'm going to make a good money on that someday. And I'm so cheap into these cards. I am $23 into this. Isn't that crazy? So $23 into that card, it'll make a lot of money. So I'm excited about the return on that. I know there's a lot more Archie cards coming, and so I'm not oblivious to the fact that I could have moved it already, but I'm excited about his potential return. I am excited about further prospects that are going to come out. I really like Cole Carrig. I think Kyle Teal could be an incredible purchase this year. Let's see. I am very, very high. This would be my number 1. I don't know how many I just named, but my number 1 guy that I'm looking forward to in the next 6 months is Messi. I think Messi, especially with his MLS dominance this year and Copa America coming up, I think we're going to see another rise this summer in Messi attention. And I just looked at his cards again tonight, and they are still low. And last week, against the best team in the MLS defensively, the best defensive team in the MLS, in the second half alone, he had 5 assists and 1 goal. This guy is incredible. And once it gets closer to the end of the MLS season, and once his other trophy stuff is coming to a close, and we see him lifting a ton of trophies, people are going to be like, I forgot, this dude's still the GOAT. And when he plays this summer in the Copa against the USA in an Argentina jersey, I think that will be the time that I'm very, very excited to have Messi in my portfolio, a lot of Messi in my portfolio, and Christian Pulisic for the same reason.
Love it. Love it. I mean, gosh, I hope my Shedeur Sanders, I've got some great Arch Manning cards. I think they're going to do well. I really do. I think it's about, now it's on me to sell them at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the big thing. Also, I've got some kabooms, some NFL kabooms that I think are going to do well. So I'm excited about that. I've got Najee Harris, Kenneth Walker the third. I went running back on a few of these, and bottom low. I think they're gonna do well at the beginning of the season.
A guy that I haven't purchased a card yet, but I have on my dock to purchase that I'm very excited about, which you'll enjoy this, is a Steelers quarterback, and it is not Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I mean,
who's left in that picture?
It's got to be Justin Fields.
I am very excited to get into some cheap Justin
backup
Fields
quarterback strategy is a real thing, man. I really do.
Game 4, he's a starter in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. No, I like Justin Fields. I was fortunate enough to flip a Justin Fields kaboom that I bought for a profit even after he got traded to the Steelers, which I thought he was going to go to a better landing spot. I think we all did at some point. But yeah, I mean the last play that I'll throw out there real quick that I'm highly confident in, that I'm waiting for cards to come back from PSA on, is I bought quite a few Carson Beck autos. His first Bowman autos, low serial numbered. And some of them I cracked out of SGC slabs. Some of them I just bought raw, but they're all at PSA right now. And I'm hoping, he's the number 1 college ranked quarterback going into the college season. So I've actually picked up quite a few of those kinds of guys. In addition to Shedeur, I've got Beck, Riley Leonard, and even Jackson Dart. So I think that the college QB play is one that I'm confident in. But instead of waiting till the NFL draft, I think I'm going to liquidate during the college season. I've noticed, like, now that we have a couple of years worth of data on this, I've noticed that the big performances during the college season spike the prices more than just the hype rise leading up to the NFL draft. So I'm hoping that I'm reporting back to you in future months on Shedeur, Beck, Leonard, Dart, those guys.
This is a great comment.
Brendan Lindgren obviously has been a loyal nooffseason.com family member for a long time, because this says it all right here. I love it.
Right before we jump into this last commercial, we're going to come back with Lindgren. We're going to come back with that, but jump into this last one.
Lefty, we say that breaking is not necessarily a sports card strategy, but there's a lot of great things going on Whatnot other than breaking. They now have singles auctions and an improved overall experience on their platform. I want everyone to know that they can get $15 free on Whatnot by joining Whatnot through this URL. Go to whatnot.sportscardstrategy.com. That's whatnot.sportscardstrategy.com. Lefty, back to you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for pushing it back to me. Appreciate that. I think, one, I'm just going to say, before we jump into Lindgren, actually, we'll just jump into this. I appreciate this. He obviously knows that I hate Drew Jones, and his swing is ugly. And we have thought about this a lot, and I wonder where the formula has Drew Jones.
I'm glad you asked. Drew Jones is actually pretty high in the formula. Yeah, so again, like this is why I love the formula, because Drew Jones, his 2023 Bowman Chrome first prospect auto, returns at a 42% ROI, which is great. If you can get that for $65, have it graded, Lefty, you only need 28 of those fuckers to make $1,000.
That's 28 more than I have, and 28 more than I will have. I'll just put it to you that way. But great comment, which is a great transition into I've just had a great time today. Our lives have been so insane over the last 6 months. We haven't had as much time to talk to each other as neither one of us would have liked. We talked on the phone the other day for over an hour, I believe. And I was just like, Katie was like, hey, you got to get off the phone. And I was like, but it's Paul. And she's like, we got stuff to do. And so as well, like we're in that same situation tonight. But I just wanted to say thanks for coming on the show. We'll definitely do this regularly, where we bring Paul in to the Lefty Card Show. He's a great friend, a great mentor, somebody that I've talked about has vaulted my career, not only in the card professional or not only in the card profession, but as an entrepreneur. Big props to you, Paul. I'm glad that we are still grinding together. I'm glad we're still making wins. This formula thing is the best thing you've created, in my opinion, other than me. And so, and, I'm just very thankful for you. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Joel. All of those that are in there. Brad Smith with coming in with the good questions. Sean bringing some good wisdom. Krim, you're probably not on here anymore, but we love you. And Matt Lane, we appreciate you as well. Man, Paul, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we cut out of here?
I just can't wait to give you a big bear hug in about 10 days.
Come on.
Great. I can't wait. And I can't wait to hang out with you and the Crims and anybody else in Dallas.
I think you're going to meet my dad.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course.
My dad wants to come to the show because he started collecting this year.
Senor McKee. Can't wait to meet him.
So he looks a lot like me. So I'm excited about it.
Awesome.
But let's just go out the way we came in. Dancing and feeding the ducks.
This is me throwing like little breadcrumbs to the ducks.
Boom,
Yeah, there we go.
boom, boom.
Lefty, great work on today's show. Thanks for supporting Lefty Cards, part of the nooffseason.com sports card network. Get a free 30-day trial today at nooffseason.com to check out our formula-based sports card rankings to help you make money flipping sports cards. Subscribe to Lefty Cards on YouTube and follow us on socials by visiting leftycards.com.